So, this young girl went to a nightclub in a corridor of Lagos State on the 10th of July to have fun. While she was at the party, she met her ex-boyfriend, a young man named Fatai Mogaji. Somehow, someway, ended up at his place. However, this will be the last time anyone will see her alive. Now, the young girl who goes by the name of Opeyemi Soyinka was said to be a single mom. It's not clear if the child she had was for her ex-boyfriend, Fatai, or if the child was for another person. Another thing that is not clear is what Fatai did for a living, or what Opeyemi did for a living, but we know they were both young, and we know that at the point, they both dated, and they both lived in Ikorodu. Sources claim that while Fatai and Opeyemi were dating, the relationship was toxic. Details of the toxicity in the relationship was not exactly stated, but I could assume, given how it ended, that it was one of those abusive ones. And eventually, Opeyemi would break up with Fatai. Now, what we don't know is how long they've broken up for. However, on the 10th of July 2024, Opeyemi attended a party at a nightclub. And while she was there, she met Fatai. What we don't know is if they both agreed to meet each other there, but I doubt, because this is Lagos State, this is Ikorodu. People go to parties all the time and they meet their exes, their friends, and people that they've most likely seen on the internet. And I would assume this was the case for Opeyemi and Fatai. They partied hard, as one would imagine. And somewhere along the line, people claim that they saw Opeyemi and Fatai having a conversation, talking, and I could imagine Fatai requesting that, she goes to his house. But that is not stated. It is also possible that Fatai found a way to convince her to follow him home. Although people are claiming that she might have been spiked and might have not been aware that she was following Fatai home. One of those situations where she may have drank a lot and got drunk and then had to have someone carry her home. Some people who know her claim that ordinarily she would not have followed this boy to his house if she was in her complete senses. At the same time, it is also possible that since she once dated him and they have most likely had broken up for long, they maybe miss each other. It's not exactly clear what happened in that club or how Opeyemi ended up going to Fatai's house. But that is what we know. They met at the club and eventually she ended up in Fatai's house. And while she was in his house, around 5 a.m., something happened. Neighbors of Fatai claimed that they heard them fighting, and eventually the fight stopped. And at this point, no one knew what the situation was. But the neighbors suspected that something bad had happened, because at one point they were hearing her voice go up, and the next thing, they stopped hearing her voice. Then they see Fatai leave the house, lock the door, and then leave the compound. At this point, the landlord of the compound had been informed that a fight was going on in one of his tenants' house, and they suspect that something bad had happened. Immediately, the landlord called the police. But this was the next morning, presumably. It's not exactly clear because this happened around 5 a.m. the next day on the 11th of July 2024. So in the early hours, the police arrive. Fatai's door is broken into and they go into the house to hopefully check on the girl that he had brought home the night before, just to find her in the kitchen, dead and wrapped. Almost as though Fatai was planning on coming back to dispose of her body. That was the belief. And upon further look at the whole situation, the police discovered that Opeyemi had been stabbed 22 times all over her body before she was wrapped in a blanket or a wrapper or a curtain and kept in the kitchen, awaiting disposal or maybe something worse. Clearly, words got around and Fatai got to hear that the police had discovered his ex-girlfriend murdered in his house. And from then onwards, he ran away. What Fatai had thought was that nobody knew what he had done. He did not know his neighbors were hearing the whole commotion. They believed he had plans on coming back to get rid of the body, and I wished they had waited. That way they would easily have caught him fast enough. But Fatai got the heads up and immediately took to his heels. And nobody saw him for a very long while. It was after a month, sometime in August, that he was found at a bar, chilling and drinking and having a good time like he did not just kill somebody. Opeyemi's friends spotted him and they held him down and alerted the police, who came and arrested him finally. But this is the thing here, not many people understood the situation. Nobody understand why this guy had to stab this girl 22 times. This alone doesn't indicate a fight. I don't think it was a fight. Sources claim that it's because she refused to have sex with him that night, and that was why he went on to stab her 22 times. And in my head, it doesn't really make sense. If that was the case, once or twice would have been crazy enough, would have been mad enough. Like, If he wants to be mad to that extent of stabbing his ex-girlfriend for refusing to sleep with him once, twice, if they were fighting, but to stab her 22 times, it's ridiculous. In different parts of her body, that shows anger. It shows rage. It shows insanity. It shows that this was a bottled up series of hatred and vengeance. This was not, I don't think whatever led him to kill her in that manner that he did was something that happened just that night. It looked as though their relationship from the past played a role in the anger that led him to do what he did. Do you know what it is to stab somebody 22 times? To give somebody stab wound 22 times in their body? It's another level. Even ritualists don't stab this much. So this is another level of evil, for lack of a better word. It is most likely possible it's one of those relationships where he felt used and he wasn't satisfied with how it ended. And I think he most likely was stalking her, trailing her, targeting her. He knew she was going to be at that party and at that club, and he went there with the sneaky intention of taking her back to his own house. That is what I feel. I don't think them meeting at that party was a coincidence. I feel that given what happened in the end, he pre-planned it. It was premeditated. She just wasn't aware, or maybe she was of the opinion that he had changed. Whatever he may have presented or said to her to convince her to follow him home was most likely deceitful, because I would guess that maybe she had had enough, a lot of drink, and if she's going to follow anybody home, or if she can't go home by herself, Fatai would be the next comfortable, best, safe thing. And if it's sex, I don't think she would have refused sex. This is her ex. If she willingly, or if she was aware, if she knew, if she was in her right senses when she followed him home, she would expect that to happen. I think that was the reason why they broke up. So people claiming, oh, because she refused to have sex with him, I don't think so. She was also partying high and drunk. That is the recipe for some kind of, one night stand, something she would probably do and regret the next morning. After all, he's a familiar person. He knows her body. They have made love in the past. So it's not something she would reject to do. And if it was something she wouldn't want to do, I don't see her following him to his house. So that narrative that he stabbed her 22 times because she refused to have sex with him doesn't work well for me. It doesn't make sense given the amount of times he stabbed her. 22 times. 22. You gotta go. That is what 22 is. You at a point you get tired. If you've cut meat before, it's tiring. It's tiring. Then to take it 22 times on a human being, the blood is splashing, you're not stopping. That is another level of, is either the guy is a serial killer, a serial murderer, is insane, he's mad, or he's just furious and angry at something. And only God knows what it is. I don't think it is a refusal for sex. I doubt. I just believe it's something from the relationship. I just believe it's one of those, he probably did not feel like she should have left him. It's one of those crime of passion. If I can't have you, no one should. This boy seemed like a thug, one of those thug who would most likely be in a cult, and he would most likely have boys in his head about his ex-girlfriend and stuff. Or maybe he found out that she was now dating somebody that, a rival gang. These are the things that I imagine playing a role in his rage to do what he did to this girl. And where did he go after killing her? That's what I would like to know. Where did he go? You've killed her. You've wrapped her up and you've kept her in your kitchen. Where was he going to? Probably talk to a group of people or his friends or the people who may have given him the battery pack at his back to push him to do that, to let them know that he has done it. I'm sure he probably took pictures in his phone before he left the house to go and tell his friends or his group of people that he had done what they said he should, what they pushed him to do. I'm sure there are people he told about it. And that's what I feel. I might be wrong, but, I don't know if the police are going to investigate it. Usually, they don't get to know what prompts all these things. As long as he has been caught and arrested, he will just face the full extent of the law. to murder. This is why personally I don't encourage people to go back to their exes. Not everybody is going to be as evil as that, but if you're in a relationship that was toxic and you finally find a way to leave, there is no reason, on no account should you want to even entertain a conversation that would lead to you people even becoming friends. Just let it go. Let it be in the past. Keep the past behind you and move on. You don't have to be friends with your exes. You don't have to be cool with your exes, especially when they did not treat you well. Especially when the reason you left was because they were not nice to you. If they were not nice to you when they were supposed to be in love with you, they won't be nice to you when they are friends with you. Many of these toxic exes tend to keep a certain bottled up hatred for their partners who got away. Once you are able to slip through their fingers, there is always that hope to get you back just to hurt you, especially if they felt hurt by you leaving them in the first place. Hurt people. And there are some kind of crazy exes you would date, and after you successfully break up with them, you leave the place, you leave the neighborhood, you leave the area, go to another place. Stop being in a place where you keep running into them every time. Stop being in a situation where your ex is your neighbor. Your ex is living close to your parents' house. Your crazy ex-boyfriend or girlfriend lives next to your parents' house, lives next to your own house. These scenarios are recipe for disaster, man. If she knew how crazy this boy was, I would have suggested she left. I'm just more relaxed that her son wasn't involved. It's not one of those ones where he would go into a house and burst and kill her and kill all her children and her family. It's just unfortunate that this had to happen to her. I wonder where her friends were though when she was at the party. I wonder if she went by herself, then it's most likely she knew he was going to be there. Maybe agreed to meet up there. If she went to that party by herself, then there's a chance they had chatted to meet up at the club. But if she went with friends, then maybe they didn't plan to meet up. However, where were the friends when this boy was taking her to his house? There's just so many questions. But you guys let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you feel about the story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and turn on notification button so whenever there's a new video, you'll be the first to get notified.